Press of Atlantic City. He joins us every week. Mike, good morning to you.
Hey, Mike, how are you this morning?
We're doing well, and I mentioned the final score in the last block, but I didn't really get into too much detail. I know it was a big baseball game yesterday in Ocean City as the OC Red Raiders host Mainland. The Mustangs come away with the victory 7-6. Tell us a little bit about this one and also some of the implications that final score has in terms of some Diamond Classic situations.
Right, a big win for Mainland over their rival, 7-6 game. Kind of a back-and-forth game, and, a rivalry game played with a lot of emotion. It wasn't the prettiest game, but a lot of momentum swings, an entertaining game. Mainland went up to a 4-0 lead. Ocean City came back, took a 5-4 lead. Then Mainland, 7-5, and in the bottom of the seventh inning, Ocean City puts the scores a run. They've got the tying run on second and the winning run on first. And Mainland ends the game with a pretty good game-ending double play. Ironically, I've been to two Mainland games this year, and in both games, Mainland shortstop Matt McGarry has made sort of excellent plays at the end of the game to complete the game. He made a leaping catch to help Mainland beat Millville in the season opener. And yesterday, he takes a few steps to his left and starts a nice double play to end the game there, and they win the game 7-6. And a big game because it puts Mainland in first place in the Cape Atlantic League American Conference, and also gives them the edge right now towards getting the conference's automatic Diamond Classic invitation. The cutoff of that tournament is next weekend, and the tournament begins May 9th. And Mainland hasn't been there since, I believe, 2008. So even though Mainland won a state championship last year, getting into the Diamond is a big thing for the program.
McLaughlin, a three-sport star for the Mustangs, football player, basketball player, also excels on the baseball diamond. Mike, what was the atmosphere like over there? Cold day, so close to the shore, obviously even colder. I mean, these are rivals, but, in terms of a big-time game with so much on the line, it hasn't really happened between Ocean City and Mainland in a while. What was the atmosphere like for this one?
It was a pretty good crowd over there, and both sides were into it. I don't know if I would have wanted to be the home plate umpire at that game. Both sides were into it. They were into every pitch. And, the great thing about it is, the teams could meet twice more this season. They have another regular season meeting late in May over at Mainland Regional. And, of course, they're both in South Jersey Group 3. So, they could cross paths again in the South Jersey Group 3 playoffs. Mainland coach Billy Curtin saying yesterday that he would like nothing better than to see all Cape Atlantic League final in Group 3, and I'm sure local baseball fans would kind of echo that thought.
In terms of Diamond Classic talk, Mike, Mainland obviously now has the inside track. Buna well in command of the inside track in the National Conference. But for people that don't know, Diamond Classic, sort of that unofficial championship of South Jersey, regardless of how big your school is, public, non-public, everyone gets a chance to test how good they are. Could we see some at-large teams from the Cape Atlantic League? And if so, who do you think those teams might be? I know we still have a lot of baseball to play, but in terms of projections, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're going to see some at-large teams from the Cape Atlantic League. I think the Cape Atlantic League usually gets one or two at-large teams per Diamond Classic year, depending on how strong the league gets. And I think it's very interesting. I think, Ocean City definitely has a leg up with, what they've been able to do this season as far as getting an at-large bid. I think Absegami has kind of put itself in the conversation. They get a big 5-0 win over St. Augustine yesterday. They won 3 games in a row. They're 6-3. I think they're in the conversation. And, and then you've got the interesting case of St. Augustine Prep. St. Augustine is the defending champion, but they've lost to Mainland. They've lost to Ocean City, and now they've lost to Absegami. They might be on the outside looking in. Of course, St. Augustine can kind of make a big case for an at-large bid. They play Gloucester Catholic tomorrow, 1:30 up at Millville's Coaches versus Cancer tournament. And if St. Augustine were to win there, I think they'd be right back in the at-large conversation, Bert. But right now, the Hermits, who are the defending champion, could be on the outside looking in as far as it comes to an at-large berth.
Is it panic time maybe for St. Augustine a little bit? Again, early in the season, but dropping some games you wouldn't think they would. Does it speak more to maybe, the bats not getting going for the Hermits, or does it speak more to maybe some other teams in the area raising their level of play when they face a team like St. Augustine?
Well, I think it speaks to the level of the other teams in the area. I think, you look at some of the games they've lost. St. Augustine has lost to Mainland. Mainland's undefeated in the defending state Group 3 champion. They lost to Ocean City. Sean Mooney headed to St. John's, struck out 15 guys, pitched a great game. And of course, yesterday they lose to a very good Absegami team. That's 6-3. Nick Hillersham does a great job pitching. I think in a way, St. Augustine is kind of a victim of their own success. I think, the success St. Augustine has had the last few years has sort of raised the level of every program in the Cape Atlantic League. And I think Cape Atlantic League programs have kind of gotten better to sort of compete with St. Augustine and sort of raise their game. Kind of a rising tide raises all boats thing. So I think, I don't think there's anything wrong with St. Augustine. They've lost 3 close baseball games. I think you got to tip your hat to the other schools and the quality of the players and programs that they're kind of put together now.
Checking in right now with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City on the South Jersey Sports Report, 97.3 ESPN FM. Mike helping us break down the high school baseball picture right now in South Jersey. Obviously, a lot of baseball to go, but things starting to take shape for the Diamond Classic. Also, the state playoff picture starting to take shape a little bit. And speaking of that, Mike, Buna, the reigning Group 2 state champs. Now, the schedule maybe not what it is for Buna as it might be for some other teams. They're in the national conference. There's some teams in there really just sort of struggling to put a varsity program together right now. But, if you're Buna, you can only play who's in front of you. And we maybe don't talk about the Chiefs a lot because they don't get a lot of marquee matchups. But, how impressed are you with this Buna team this year? I know they have a lot of talent returning, and Denny Brady is certainly leading the way in that department.
Well, I think, you said that they're kind of operating in a bit of a vacuum right now, or under the radar a little bit, because they are playing a schedule that, they're playing a lot of games that they should win. I think what's good about Buna is they're winning those games, and they're playing well and win those. They had a nice win yesterday over St. Joe, who had kind of emerged as the latest challenger in the national conference. C.J. Laffergolder of St. Joe in the midst of a very good season. Again, I think Buna Regional, it'll be interesting to see them in the Diamond Classic. I'm sure, I'll cover their Diamond Classic game. A lot of other media sources around South Jersey, will kind of parachute back in to see, Buna in the Diamond Classic. But there's no doubt, based on, what they did in last year's state tournament, and, they beat Morristown earlier this season. We all know how good Denny Brady is, Marco, Carolla, Don Lopez. We all know how good those players are. So, Buna getting done what they have to do in the regular season. And again, they'll be one of those teams that, when the Diamond Classic comes, people will sort of take another look at Buna.
You hinted at this event this weekend earlier on in the conversation, Coaches versus Cancer Weekend at Millville. We had Roy Hallenbeck on the show off the top for a good 15 minutes to talk about this. But, in your opinion, how neat is this tournament, in terms of high school baseball, Mike? I mentioned you see so many of these Coaches versus Cancer weekends in basketball season. You don't see a ton in baseball season, and this has really become a premier event. Some great area teams taking part. We mentioned the big showdown tomorrow, Gloucester Catholic versus St. Augustine, but some other great matchups out there as well, and just really a fun weekend of baseball for a great cause.
Right. I mean, you've got Millville, Bishop Eustace starting at 11 o'clock. You've got Mainland against the defending state Group 4 champion Washington Township at 4 o'clock. It's just a great event out there. It's raised, I think, between $25,000 and $30,000 for cancer in 3 seasons. And you kind of wish there were more of these events on every weekend. Like you said, these events are all over the place as far as basketball goes. Every basketball season we see these events. You kind of wish there were more of these great matchups where you could go to one field and see 3, 4 of the top baseball games featuring the top teams in South Jersey, and Millville just does a great job. And having those Nike Lunar Vapor Trout signed autographed cleats for auction sale, I'm sure they'll help raise a lot of funds too for people this weekend.
Mike, we got to do some Penn relays talk with you. I know you're not up there this weekend, certainly an event you've covered in the past. When it comes to track and field in South Jersey, track and field in the greater Mid-Atlantic region, I mean, what sort of reputation does the Penn Relays have for people that might not know? Obviously, one of the most historic events that you could ever have in the track and field world.
The Penn Relays is simply one of the best and most fun events, I've ever covered. They call it a carnival. It's just a great atmosphere. The way I would say to it is there are no casual fans there. Everybody there kind of knows the sport inside and out. Big crowd. Everybody knows what's going on. When a runner makes a move on the backstretch or on the final turn, and the crowd rises to cheer him on, it's outstanding. And like I said, just about every local high school throws a 4x1 and a 4x4 team up there. we had some individuals compete up there this year. Devin Grisbaum, the Ocean City distance runner, another distance runner, Julie Cantata from EHT, Tariq Adams from Pleasantville high jumping today. Just to get invited or to qualify to compete in this individual events is like winning a gold medal at another meet in itself. And, what I tell people all the time, the Penn Relays is kind of the Super Bowl of track and field, and it's equivalent. They'll have Olympians running on that track today, and 20 minutes before that, there'll be high school kids running on that track. So it's kind of the Super Bowl of track and field, and it's like a high school football game being played, and then the Super Bowl, the NFL team's coming out to play 20 minutes later. That's how I sort of compare it.
It's a grand scale, obviously, so much going on there. Sometimes it's hard to pick out, individual teams or winners. I know Vineland had a great day yesterday in the 4x100, I think ranking in 47 among 580 teams. I know St. John Erskine of Barnegat, 13th in the javelin. So is it one of those deals, Mike? Obviously very tough to win an event there. There's so many great schools from all over the place, but just sort of ranking that high, a feather in your cap.
Yeah, I think it's just more, like you said, it's about more than just winning. Obviously, you look at Vineland, they finished 47th out of 580 schools that competed. That's tremendous. I think it's more about just the experience of going up there. It's kind of a celebration of sport. It's running in a historic venue. It's similar to playing a basketball game at Madison Square Garden or, a football game at the Link or something like that. I think it's almost more about the experience and the spirit of the event than it is actually, winning and losing.
Mike McGarry, our guest right now, South Jersey Sports Report, 97.3 ESPN FM. Mike, I have to ask you about the list. And for people that maybe haven't seen it, I know Press of Atlantic City, you guys put together the list. It's sort of a list of the trending topics on the high school sports scene and some interesting things in there this week. I know you're very impressed with the Holy Spirit Baseball DJ at home games.
Yeah, it's outstanding. I like that, baseball. One of the things I always thought, when I first started covering baseball, and everybody around the league has gotten better, is kind of making the baseball game more of an event and sort of simulating, a major league atmosphere. And, like I say, I think the Holy Spirit music in between innings, a little Springsteen, a little Bon Jovi, an interesting mix of country tunes, throw in a little Jimmy Buffett every now and then. I just think, Holy Spirit has a great atmosphere, at their games. And, whoever's doing the DJ job there might want to, rent themselves out for parties or something.
All you really have to do is play Springsteen, and you hook McGarry, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty easy to play, please. So let's say, maybe there's a bit of a low bar there.
Now, based on your Twitter timeline, I also understand you're spending a lot of time at Citizens Bank Park these days. So, number one, why? Number two, what are you seeing out of the Phillies right now?
Well, I just think, I think the Phillies are kind of interesting from the perspective of, they're not mediocre. I mean, they're bad. I think the question is, how bad are they going to be? And two, I think there's just interesting, the drama right now unfolding, the immediate future of Ryan Howard, the immediate future of Chase Utley, the Cole Hamill situation. I think those are kind of compelling stories. Here are guys who, for 5 or 6 years were among the best players in baseball, and now they're kind of really struggling. And to see the end, we were there for the beginning, we were there for the celebration, and now you got to cover the end too. I think what you've seen is some rough baseball this week and some poor fundamental baseball. They were able to come back and win last night, but comments that people seem to make to me is that, we thought they were going to be bad. We didn't think they were going to be this bad, and it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of change that. Although after these two games, they get headed for a 10-game road trip to Atlanta, St. Louis, and Miami. That's going to be a tough trip, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of shape they're in when they come back from that trip. I believe it's on May 8th.
Well, Mike McGarry's level of play on this show, much better than the Phillies' level of play right now. little bonus coverage, Phillies talk there to mix in with some high school talk. Mike McGarry, Press of Atlantic City. Always appreciate the time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll try and catch up with you again next week.
Okay, great, Mike. Thanks for a few.
You got it.